What's good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, talk about how SPY is looking so far and based off this falling wedge, and how the price action is looking today, as it's looking a lot more bullish on most of tech for the day. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I talk about what the technicals are suggesting for Nvda and Tesla, SPY, the QQQ, and many tickers out there, let me just mention a couple of things before starting. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends in just 2 days, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, guys, looking at SPY, one of the things we called out in the morning is this possible inverse head and shoulder like pattern. We were looking at this 444 level. If we broke below this, there was potential for some weakness. If we held above it, we could have validated this right shoulder and potentially saw some upside. And we actually managed to hold above 444, which is a good sign. I told you all that if this held, we'd likely see some upside, and that is what happened in the market for today. And now that we got this bounce for the markets, even for like Nvda and Tesla, we're going to be watching to see if this could complete. And we're going to look at SPY trying to get its way up to about 450 or so very, very soon. So far, it's looking quite nice. It's testing the 30 minutes 200 EMA as resistance, holding up very, very nicely. But this looks a little bit different once you look at the data and then the falling wedge on SPY. For the data for the day, we had the consumer inflationary expectations report, and this came out at 3.5% lower than expected, which is a good sign so far as consumers have positive sentiment and are looking more optimistic for the Fed's policies to work. That is a good sign for the markets. That is a good sign for the markets, and the market is so far really enjoying it. That's part of why the market pumps the way it did. And for now, the market's holding up quite decently, rejecting off the top end of this falling wedge, but I do believe it's going to make an attempt to break this very soon. I think technicals look more bullish. So I had these two possibilities right here kind of like drawn out. You know, the more bearish case would be us coming down to like 442, then bouncing and pushing up. And the more bullish case would be a bounce from here and then us eventually pushing up. I kind of spaced this out a little bit for like Wednesday, but you know, I sometimes do that just for simplicity so it's easier to see. But here's what I'm seeing so far. Now that we got this bounce off this demand zone, right? The confluence of support I kept talking about, the breakout area. This is a very nice setup. Now we're testing a critical resistance around this 447.5 area. What I'm basically seeing is this. We have this inverse head and shoulder structure, and we're basically testing this falling wedge. Now, we could get a breakout from this, and technicals do suggest it's going to most likely come. We could see this thing come a little bit lower, maybe drop into the 446s before, a little bit lower into the 446s before we get some kind of bounce. But it's going to look like it's going to make an attempt to bounce by tomorrow, and we should see this thing try to break out. Now, my prediction for the markets would be most technicals look bullish. And because I'm saying that, I think there's a good chance the market's going to keep going. It's going to keep pushing up as time goes on, approaching the FOMC minutes on Wednesday at about 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So I think approaching the FOMC minutes for Wednesday, I think the market's going to uptrend, and then we're just going to have to see what the FOMC minutes cause after that. But for now, things are looking quite good. I think there's a good chance the market could try to continue going. So I'm leaning more bullish. I think SPY is going to eventually try to break above this resistance at 447.5 or around that zone and eventually push its way up to about 450. I think it's very probable, and I'm going to be watching for this over the next couple of days. And to add on to this, if you want to turn bearish, I mean, you need to see this thing break once again below 446. It could then come down to like get closer to 444. It has to break below 444 for us to turn like a lot more bearish. So far, there's not really a sign of that. It's not even close to that. So the odds do favor the upside. We have a nice accumulation structure right here. And this thing is going to eventually break above the 30 minutes 200, in my opinion. It's going to test this again and again. I'm going to be looking for a push back to 450 at least very, very soon. Now, to add on to this, for Tesla would have bounced from the get-go, from the morning. It should have bounced like this in a normal market. But what happened was we got some bad news to start us off first. The bad news caused Tesla to come down. It dropped a little bit more before getting a bounce. And it looks to me like Tesla's just in an accumulation phase because it formed another bullish divergence. The bullish divergence is still forming on it. It still technically has a triple bullish divergence. And I think Tesla is going to get a push up to fill this gap by tomorrow or so. Over the next few days, it's going to come back up to the 242 plus area. And eventually, if it breaks that, I could see 245 to 246 coming over the next couple of days. I'm leaning more bullish on Tesla. I think it could also be forming an inverse head and shoulder structure right here. And this is becoming like a liquidity grab down at like 233. So this was like a quick drop before it came right back up. This wasn't a clean break below 235. Technically, it actually spent the majority of the day above 235, which was support. That's a bullish signal, looking quite good for Tesla. And I'm going to be looking for a nice push into the 240s very, very soon. For the IWM, it did the same thing, just what we were predicting. It didn't really, break the low that we had previously to like an extreme extent. We came down to like 188.64, so a bit of a drop before it bounced right back. And now we're actually watching, a lot of these imbalances end up forming because it has this falling wedge and it's trying to get a breakout after forming this bullish divergence. I'm going to be watching this push back up to about 191 at the very least. It has a nice setup. We have to wait for it. It's a little weak right now compared to like tech, but I do believe it has some good potential. For Aapl, as far as Aapl goes, that's a nice looking structure right here. A nice bullish divergence, getting a nice bounce. And you can see it's kind of curling. And I believe it's going to make its way all the way back up to at least 180 very, very soon to fill this imbalance. Then we could even see 182 above that. If it holds above that, I'm going to be looking at 182 for Aapl very, very soon. It looks more bullish to me. I think it's going to slowly make its way up. It also has this inverse head and shoulder structure that's still starting to play out. By tomorrow, we could see 180 on it. It looks more bullish to me. For the triple Q, it did almost exactly what I was predicting. I told you around 365, we might see this thing try to bounce. It came a little bit lower and hit 364.7, and then it bounced. So it came a tiny bit lower, 30 cents below our target before this thing formed a double bottom. It came right back up. Now we're seeing almost 370 on it, exactly as we predicted off the falling wedge, which is pretty good news for it. And we're going to be watching it hold above 370 very soon. If it breaks that, I would not rule out 372 and then 374.3. Those are all possibilities. Leaning more bullish on it. This is like a slanted inverse head and shoulder. Still looks quite good. Nvda looks bullish to me. In my opinion, we got a nice bounce. We were looking at around 400 for it to test. A little bit lower before this thing bounced, and that is what happened very closely. And now it got a crazy breakout. It's up almost 6%. Very, very nice stuff. The next level to watch for is 442. This imbalance up here. 442 should be coming for Nvda now, in my opinion. It looks more bullish. Looks very, very nice. There's still some time left, but you have to time your entry very, very well and be very careful, not financial advice. There was some news involving India basically purchasing oil from, I believe it was Saudi Arabia. That's part of why the dollar got this drop, which was decent for the markets. We actually started off very strong. The dollar was very strong to start us off before it came down. Still is trying to hold up, but we're going to be watching to see how it holds up after news like that came out. Looking at Coinbase, this looks bullish. Formed a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. It's curling on the bigger time frames. The 4-hour looks more bullish. Going to be looking for it to get back to about 84 very, very soon. I think it's going to make its way up. Looking at Amzn, this thing did what we predicted from yesterday. A retest of about 138 or so. It bounced back to 140, and I think that's where it's heading. It's actually very close to that. It could even keep going for this gap. Appears like 141. Looks more bullish. The 4 hours about to get across on the PPO. Looks more bullish to me. Meta looks very bullish too. It came down to about 298. We were talking about 300 on Meta. That was like our support. If we got a clean break below that, it could have come down. We actually touched a little bit below it, but came up very quickly. So it wasn't really a clean break. And if anything, it held above 297. I was talking about 297. That's our support based off this 200 EMA. We're about to get a bullish cross on the PPO. Looks bullish. I'm going to be watching this thing push up to at least 308, if not this imbalance up to about this 312-ish area. It looks bullish. It looks bullish, plain and simple. Looks more bullish to me. So most stocks out there look bullish. We have some nice setups that developed. Going to be watching for some more bullish price action. Will this price action last? My answer is when the FOMC minutes come out on Wednesday, I'm not sure if it's going to pump the markets or not. I think approaching it, market looks good, but we're going to be also watching our resistances at this current level. And then also the falling wedge, we still have resistance on it. And then we also have this other resistance, which is where the yellow line is, which happens to align very closely by Wednesday at where our inverse head and shoulders like pattern could take us. So the market looks more bullish. We're going to likely pump more, but we have to watch these resistance levels and be very careful for Wednesday because we have the FOMC minutes. We'll see about how that goes. And until I see you guys again, please watch the charts carefully, watch support and resistance, and just know that the majority of tech look more bullish to me, in my opinion, especially Nvda. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, everyone. Market to the moon as the long term is very, very bright. And peace out.